Hello, everyone. Welcome to another College Coaching Network Social Spotlight Live. We are so excited about this episode. This is a third. Well, no, this is another
One of them.
episode.
One of
Right,
many.
2022, right? With us today, we have Miss Delisa Smith, who is a founder and CEO in her own right. So she has agreed to take the 10-10 challenge today. So I'm going to turn over to Clyde because we're going to challenge her about her very first job, but we'll talk about what she's up to and what she does now today.
Yes. So are you ready for the 10-10 challenge, young lady?
I think so. I'm ready.
All right, that'll work. All right, 10 questions, 10 seconds for each question about your very first job. Now, a couple of questions, if you feel like you don't have a great story about the first job and you want to interject another job that may give us an opportunity to learn a little bit more about you, we're all in on that. All right.
All right.
All right. So here we go. First question. What was your actual title or position in your first job?
I worked for the sales floor. I worked on the sales floor in retail.
Okay. And what company did you work for?
Super Target.
Super
Super Target.
Yeah, you got you a good job. You had to fill out the application and everything.
She had a wardrobe coming in.
Right.
Shirt.
All of it. Love
a boss out the gate. I love it. All right. How much money did you make on your first job there at Target?
Ooh, $7.50 an hour.
Oh, that's pretty good. Yeah,
For an 18-year-old, it was pretty nice. I had never worked before, so.
Wow. No, I'm sorry. I got to ask a sidebar question. You said your first job, you were 18?
I was 18 when I got my first job.
Yep. Wow. So were you involved in sports or something like why was there a delay before you entered into the workforce?
So I was super active in high school. I was a part of an organization called FCCLA, which stood for Family, Career, and Community Leaders of America.
Nice.
So I was always doing chapter service projects, things like that in the community. I was also a member of Upward Bound. And then I was the oldest at home. So considering all of those different things, and I was also on the swim team. So I didn't really have a lot of time for working. By the time I turned 18, it was like graduation's coming. I'm going to be having to leave the home soon and go off to school. So it's time that I probably start working like some of my friends.
Yes. So you're 18. You've been really having a great work ethic leading up until you get in your first job there at Target. So now that you're working, how did you feel about your first paycheck? Like, were you a saver or were you a spender?
I was a spender.
Look, I have a follow-up question as a Target concierge. How much, what percentage of that check do you feel like went back into Target?
Ooh, probably about a good 50%. Because when you offer me discounts and a lunch break, I'm shopping because I'm folding while I'm working, so I see the new stuff.
Yes. So if any of you guys need any help with math, that means that she really made about $3.75 an hour.
Right. But the 50% off discount was well worth it.
Oh, yeah, you got to get it. Yeah. Somebody's got to take advantage of it.
Right.
All right, so when you got your first check, how did you feel when you saw the wonderful FICA taxes coming out of your check?
I was angry because nobody ever told me about taxes. And I didn't know all these people that I was paying my money to.
Yes.
So I won't lie, I was quite upset.
Okay, so knowing that you were spending money over lunch, I'm assuming that you probably didn't go out and do a lot of eating at lunch. Maybe you did. So were you a sack lunch person or did you actually go out and buy your own lunch?
No, because I had friends that worked at Target and they didn't tell me that, Sam was going to take my check. So we were out eating lunch all the time. We were in Lee Summit and it was that little circle of shops there. So we went to eat. I went to Bath and Body Works to shop, and Target has that little small shop inside of it. So if I wasn't eating out there, I was definitely picking up stuff inside of the Target to eat.
You were living your best life.
I was trying.
Oh, I love it.
I was trying to do what I could because when I got home, if I took it home, I had to share. I had 3 other sisters. So I was not trying to take my stuff home. I wanted to eat it and consume all the evidence in one space.
Oh, yes. And see, I'm an only child, so I have to worry about that. But I have kids now, so I feel like I understand your plight. I'll put something in the refrigerator, and it's community food.
Community. Yeah.
Yes, it's community food. All right. So next question: when it comes to like you've got your check and then you found out about taxes and all that stuff, what is a funny situation that happened to you on your first job or job that you had? One a funny story that ever happened.
Oh, okay. Don't tell anybody.
We won't.
The craziest thing that's my funniest story is my reason for leaving Target. I wasn't as educated in the business world about, sticking to a job, staying with it, the discipline of it, right? So I loved animals. So on my lunch break, the pet store next door was having some kind of like adoption thing. So I went in and I bought this cat, right? I don't even like cats. So now I'm like, why do I buy this cat? So I bought this cat and I brought it back to work on my lunch break in this box. Like, can I keep it here? And they're like, no. I'm like, why not? I get off in like 20 minutes. I don't understand. I was so upset that I couldn't keep this cat that I decided that I was leaving after like 6 months. I wanted to keep my cat. That day, I remember getting home and thinking that was the dumbest thing I could have ever done. Because I got rid of the cat like 2 days later. I didn't even like
it. There's so many levels we can go that.
Right.
Wow.
Well, through.
Right.
I don't know if there's a 50% discount on the cat.
Right. Don't buy pets on lunch break.
Yeah, that's wow. Okay, so what song best describes your very first job?
Oh, what song? I don't know the song. What's the Bruno Mars song? It's like 24 karat magic.
Oh, yeah.
But it was more energy. Like I loved going to work. I loved the energy. I loved the people I worked with. So it was fun for me. Yeah. It was really fun for me. And I didn't have to be a cashier unless I wanted to. So that made it even better.
What did you learn from being a cashier in your job that you actually have taken with you down the road in your career now?
So cashiering was not something that I wanted to do. I worked on the sales floor. So when I did do cashiering, I think what I learned the best was, or that's the most beneficial, was keeping my eyes open. The small things you look at and that you see every day, right, that you just don't pay attention to. And I mean, not just money, but, stuff like what's under the basket or what somebody looks like. Just because you see these customers on a regular basis and creating the rapport and the relationship became super important because I noticed how they shop. I noticed what they look for on a regular basis. I noticed, okay, Miss Judy don't bring in $50s and $60 when she come in. So I need to make sure I got enough change when she comes over here, or she doesn't like long lines. So anytime I see her in a long line, I jump on a cashier and go ahead and ring her up real quick so that she can get in and out of the store. So creating the relationships will probably be the best piece for me.
That's good. And that's the thing that a lot of people don't understand is relationships that you may have back then could somehow or another serve you, years down the road. Were you on time or were you late?
Why are you asking them questions? Is that what the
questions? We know the answer.
Right.
I rode with my friends. So I was on time probably 4 days out of the week. The other days were the weekend. So I was still learning discipline and structure. Yeah. I was just trying to do what my friends did so I could have my own money.
Yeah, and be able to get 50% off. So I love it. There's two last questions. What was the biggest life lesson that you've ever learned from your first job?
Oh, don't make emotional decisions. That cat thing taught me a lot. Because I could never work at Target ever again because I quit. I didn't give the 2-week notice or anything. And it was one of my favorite jobs. Like if I could go back even as an adult, I'd work part-time because I like Target. Yeah.
All right. That's good. That's good. That's good. And, that's mic drop. And I'll tell you real quick that the craziest thing that I've done in regards to quitting the job is I worked at a place called Bodie's Barbecue. This shows you how old I am.
Wow.
And this was back in Bannister when Bannister was popular. right off of 95th Street for you people in Kansas City. And so I'm busting the table, and one of the guys that was actually on the side was supposed to have the other side of the room, and he would get the tips, and then I had the other side, right, the south side. He came on my side and took all the tips and left all the tables unbusted.
Oh.
And I was like furious, right? I mean, I understood I had my territory, and I would go back and help wash the dishes if I had to. I was a team player, but I was just furious and so I went and told my boss, trying to be my advocate, and he said, "Well, so what? Go clean them anyway." He didn't care, that I was, taken advantage of. So he came out, and I saw him and the gentleman that were talking noise, the one that took my money. They were over in the corner cahooting and laughing. And I got so mad that I had this towel, and I'm wiping the table off, and it had beans from the food on the towel.
This is not going.
It's not going.
As a good example.
Yeah. I'll let your imagination run.
Wow.
But that towel did not stay in my hand the rest of my shift.
Wow.
And that was my last day at that job. So
those emotional decisions.
It was but it felt great. And I knew that I was going back to school, and I didn't have to worry about working there because I was going back to school in about 2 more days. So it was what it was. All right. So I think I lost my last question. The last question that I was getting ready to go into is, what song? I know we talked about what song, what song was popular during the time of your very first job?
It was Juvenile. Back that thing up. It was so big. So we blasted it everywhere we went.
That beat will
does it make a difference where I'm at? I'm not gonna dance to it, but when I hear it just jogs some memory in me.
It does. I think that beat to that song single-handedly brings everybody back to a particular place.
It has to.
Yes.
It has to.
Yes. It has to. Well, Delisa, kudos to you. You completed the 10-10 challenge. You did it. So if you don't mind, and I know Mika will chime in, but tell us who you are, what you're doing today. We know you started from $7.50 an hour, getting cats on your lunch break and things like that. But now who you are and what do you do?
So now I am Delisa Smith. I'm the president and CEO of SD Smith Business Resource Firm. So I took the knowledge that I gained from working, going into the corporate world at a very young age, doing corporate training and leadership development. And I turned that into a passion for helping businesses, teaching businesses the importance of working together, the importance of keeping the business and the structure and the vision that you start with. What it looks like to create that structure and that discipline. And then we kind of move from that into dealing with youth, creating opportunities for the youth to be able to learn more about entrepreneurship, right? Learn that, hey, just because you're upset today at McDonald's means that you may not be able to go back. When truth of the matter is, right, McDonald's is one of the leading companies out there. They pay for your schooling, right? They pay for apprenticeship programs, internship programs, right? There are major opportunities. And sometimes we don't always see what that looks like and how that's affected in the long run. So now my biggest goal is educating each other, right? Taking the opportunities to teach individuals what it looks like to be the top of the food chain coming from the bottom of the food chain, and what it looks like mentally when you're going through starting something for yourself. Right? It's not easy. I started in family, career, and community services, and that guided me to a place where I was extremely comfortable with working with my community, right? Creating these different ideas for my community that would allow them to be able to grow. So now I'm a believer in do what you love and you never work a day in your life. Yeah. I have to be honest, I'm not always the best, but I'm accountable for my own actions. I'm responsible and I help as much as I can by listening and creating good, consistent follow through.
I love it. What does your ideal customer look like?
My ideal customer is a client who just pretty much has an idea. And the reason is because a lot of times when you just have an idea, you're coachable. And you have to be coachable when it comes to building a business, right? No matter what it looks like, because we go into businesses, especially as an entrepreneur, and you're like, I'm the guru of this, right? I know that. So that's why I'm doing it. But when people come in and start giving you different strategies and telling you what you're doing wrong, a lot of times we as human nature take that as a reflection of us, right? So when you have somebody who just has a vision, right? I have a client that I've had since I actually started my business. I love working with her because I started with just an idea. Behind me, you'll see, or I guess on this side, you'll see a poster here for Posh, and it's a jewelry and accessory line that we work with. But she literally came to me with just an idea. She said, "Hey D, I got an idea. I want to start a jewelry company." Right? She's a college student. She's going education. She works with the BSU with her college, but she just had an idea, and she took the opportunity to sit down and talk about what she wanted to do, create some strategies. And 2 years later, her business is doing amazing, and she's still in college. She's in her senior year now. You know, she's getting ready to start teaching, but she also now has some things that she can literally firsthand give advice to other students about what it looked like, what it took. You know, what do you do when your business has some money, but you don't have it in your personal account?
Yeah.
Right. You have to be coachable to what those things look like and the mental piece that comes with it.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. That something hit me when you were talking about, and I'm going to write this down. Called idea incubator. We'll have to come back on that. While you were talking, it was a thought that just popped up. An idea just popped up when you were talking. But this is a question I'm going to throw to you, because since you work with people that are actually dreamers, right? You have to be very protective of who you share your dreams with, right? What makes you a safe place for people to come to have the environment, right? That's going to give them the nutrients, the support that they need to continue in the pathway, because everybody didn't offer that in their services. So like, what do you do to help people actually foster that?
Well, I'm going to be honest. The first thing is I'm big on contracts. Right. Contracts protect you when it comes to business world, confidentiality, and that's what it's there for. Right. We share different things with different people, and you don't always know. Right. The other second thing, and I have to be honest, is it's me, the personality of me, but creating building spaces. I not only work with the client, but for instance, with Junior Alliance, we work with the parents. We have a class called How to Groom a Dreamer. You know, what does it look like when your student has all the access to all of these things to make them successful, but you have absolutely no idea as a parent how to guide that? You know, what does it look like? You know, for us, and that's being honest. We tell our students go to school, go to college, but why when they can go to YouTube and learn it in, you know, hours, and they're like, well, what you're saying is not relevant. You know, we come from two completely different time frames. So the other piece that I think is great for me that makes me a safe place is I understand that. I find a real common ground with growth, and I understand that growth is not always about just telling somebody, but it means taking the time as an individual as well, to humble yourself. You know, it's not just what you say, it's how you say it. And it's turning your personality into something that makes them feel comfortable, right? If I'm the teacher, it's my responsibility to make sure they understand it. It's not my responsibility to yell, to scream, to go get the books, right? To drill it in them. It's my responsibility to help them find the light, for that light to go off. And I'm a lover of knowledge. Right. I went to school. I wanted to be an educator anyway. So it kind of just became something that was just natural to me because I love learning. I love watching people learn. So the more people that I find ways to watch them learn, the better I become as an individual, because I learn things about myself as well. And I think when you open yourself up to that, you create an environment that people feel comfortable in, because they know that that's trusting, because you've created a vulnerable space for yourself as well.
That's good. There's two things that you mentioned just a moment ago. Is that one, you also help the parents on how to guide that dreamer, but also about the dynamics changing now from what we were taught, growing up. I think we're of that certain age that we were taught, go to college, get a degree, get a nice job. And now you talked about, learning different things on YouTube or being an entrepreneur. And building those skills. So, how has your conversations been with parents to help them see their child's dream and be able to get behind them? Because again, when you're of a certain age, there was only one pathway, whereas now there's many.
That, I'm gonna be honest, that can be difficult. Right? Difficult. Because a lot of us grew up in the time frame of children are to be seen and not heard. And we just have to be honest about that. So when you're talking to a parent and you're trying to get this parent to understand they don't want to be a doctor.
Right.
They want to be, right? They want to make sneakers. And they're awesome at making sneakers, right? They're great with artwork. Then what I try to do is I always try to look at it from a perspective of motivating the child. No parent wants to be the parent who is not helping build their child's dreams. So I'm realistic about it. You know, the conversation isn't always comfortable. But it's needed. And I allow the parent the opportunity to have those conversations openly with the student. I'm going to be honest, I'm not always the person that does it. I work with an amazing person, Travis Bryant, and he does leadership development as well. So as a social worker, in addition to someone who has their own business and works in the community, he's able to kind of get to their level a little bit. I come in when it's RD, they understand now, right? Now you got to give them this full force and they know what to expect, right? So that's kind of the piece that comes in. But I think the truth of the matter is it takes a team, right? We had that idea of it takes a village a long time ago and somewhere we lost it. So what I do is I just try to make sure that I regain that no matter what. Like it's not me, I'm telling you. Like it's just not me. I couldn't do it without the other partners that I have that come in, and whether it's you guys, whether it's Travis Bryant, you know, whoever it may be, everybody is great at what they do. So you have to allow them that space to be great at what they do.
That's so true. That's so true. Yeah. Go ahead, Mika. Did you have another one? I feel like
no, you guys.
All right. So I got two last ones. So you have a parent that you're helping to kind of learn how to love on their child, but in a way that's giving them the support that they need because they're a visionary, right? And then you now have to help the student go into execution. Like you have an idea, and then you incubate that, and now you move into what's the biggest problem that you've seen with students being able to go from idea to execution?
Understanding that they can't run to the parent every time they have a problem. Because they're a student, we're still right in that stage of the nurturing piece, right? I got to go to mom, how do I do this? So getting them to understand this is not mommy's business, this is your business, right? This is not something that mom is going to be able to help you with because mom's got her things that she's doing as well. So giving them tools. I think a lot of the students nowadays have gotten just a little bit, they've moved away from using the resources that are available to them. And that's just because everything is about convenience now. You know, why use the resource? Why use a resource guide if I can just go ask my friend and they're going to tell me? Right. So I think the biggest piece for me is that challenging space of expecting them to do things for themselves and kind of teaching them that piece and guiding them through it. And letting them know, like, hey, I gave it to you and I want you to go here first, but it doesn't mean that I'm not here to support you.
That's good. My last question is more so on leadership. So like when a person initially has an idea and then they go into graduating from running to mommy and daddy, and now they got to basically go ahead and tie their own shoe, right? And step up and do what you're supposed to do. Now you're trying to get to a place where you're scaling, right? You want to be able to have multiple people that are on your team helping you facilitate this big vision that you have. How do you help people become leaders that just really learn how to be away from mom and dad? Like they're just now, like, you know, graduating from being dependent. Now you have to be a leader and help other people kind of, how do you help those kids develop leadership?
Well, the cool thing about it is we address that first. Leadership development is one of the first things that we do with students because oftentimes they have an idea, but they don't realize the extent of the idea. All right. So once we take a chance to sit down, right, and talk to them about it, everybody wants to be Bill Gates, but everybody's not Bill Gates, right? And that's just true. So a lot of times what we'll see is when we're talking to students, we'll realize that once the student gets the full gist of what it is that they're doing, that's not what they want to do anyway. Right. So what that then allows us to do is create leadership positions for them based on what they are wanting to do. right? And when you put students together in situations where they're working with other students, when they're working with students that are not as fortunate as them, you'd be surprised as a dialogue that comes around. So really, I'll be honest, the ending piece of that is letting them teach each other. It's not always about us, creating anything other than the space, right?
Mhm.
It's literally giving the tools. Once we get to a place, because you're always going to have students, right, that you that struggle in areas, but confidence is a big deal with that, right? And I can't give you that, but I can give you all the things to help you build that.
Yes.
Right. And so it just goes back to being realistic about situations. We teach students stocks and investments. In that class, they work together as a team to build a stock and to understand what that looks like. So when you start I'm a big believer of Stephen Covey, begin with the end in mind.
Yes.
And so we did that. And when you take leadership development and you put it at the beginning instead of at the end, there's a different kind of road that's created with that. And by the time they get to that fork in the road, they're confident about which decision that they're going to make, although they may not like it. And teaching students to be comfortable is where I think they succeed. Because in the entrepreneurial world, you have to be comfortable with the uncomfortable. You have to.
Yes.
Right? It's not about who likes you, who doesn't like you, you have to be comfortable in that space. And if you're going to be the boss, you got to be comfortable with telling the friend, hey, this isn't going to work and this isn't the best space. So when I can build that confidence, nothing can stop
And that bleeds over into every other area of your life.
me. Yeah.
It goes on to every other. I'll say this as a last comment, and then I'll throw it over to Mika to take us home. Thank you, definitely, for sharing your story. Thank you for allowing people to see your light. And thank you. I learned more about you today, and we are in the same office. Just on some things more on the analytical side of what you're doing to help the kids mentally to get past their own hurdles. So one of the things I just want to throw out, just for everybody that may be listening to this, you can have an idea. You can actually be a leader. Some people are natural born leaders. Some people have to develop. They have to work on some shyness and things like that. But it doesn't mean just because you have an idea that you're supposed to be, like you said, Bill Gates.
Yeah.
Right. You can have an idea, and it could be where it's more of a hobby. It may not be a big time business, but you can actually fund your family going on vacations.
Right.
You can take that extra money and get yourself out of debt. You may be able to actually drive. There's people that have churro businesses, and they drive very nice cars, even though their regular job would not allow them to afford that kind of car. But because they're entrepreneurs, they're actually now in a different realm. And so just open yourself up to the possibility of what entrepreneurship can be. Can you give them your websites and how they can get in contact with you? Because I want to make sure that these kids have a way of knowing how to continue this conversation.
Yes, definitely. So you can reach us at www.sdsmithbrcfirm.com. That's www.sdsmithbrcfirm.com. We're also on Instagram, Facebook, as SD Smith BRC Firm. So you can message us on there. Any questions, I highly, highly recommend. Even if you got an idea, reach out. Consultations are free for students. But we take the opportunity to do whatever it is that we can. And sometimes it's not always entrepreneurship. Sometimes it's just, hey, Ms. D, I just need a mentor. Right. I just need somebody that I can talk to. Great. Let's see what resources we got in the community outside of myself that can help you. Because I try my best, but I have to be honest. Sometimes I run into different things because I'm super busy, but I just love helping. I love seeing students succeed. So if there are things that you're interested in, ideas that you have, maybe ways that you think it would be nice to help other people with entrepreneurship programs, we're all ears. We love listening, coming up with ideas and seeing what we can do to make it better for everybody.
I love it.
Good stuff. I love it. So again, we have website scrolling below, sdsmithbrcfirm.com. Parents, students, definitely go on, check her out. And you mentioned about Stephen Covey and starting with the end in mind. I am such a fan of Dr. Miles Monroe. He is amazing when it goes to leadership, and what you were saying made me think of a quote that he says. So I'll read it right quick. It says, "You don't become the person you wish to become. You become the person you choose to become." True leadership does not come through wishes; it comes through choices. And
I love it.
yes,
I
and I
love
believe
it.
that is what your firm allows
Yes.
parents to make the choice that works for them, so that
Yes.
they can find where they fit as a leader. So, Miss Delisa, thank you so much for joining us on College Touch Network Social Spotlight Live. You successfully completed the 10-10 challenge.
I
And
did
again,
it.
yeah, you did
Yes,
it.
yes,
So,
yes.
community, make sure you reach out sdsmithbrcfirm.com if you are and your family has thriving youth entrepreneurs. So, thank you, everybody.
Thank you, guys.